Hi, I'm Kelly Sue with your intuitive astrology, and the biggest takeaway, the thing for us to focus on today, right now, is that the sun is in Taurus at 0 degrees. It has moved into Taurus, and the sun is squaring Mars, which is at 0 degrees of Leo. So that's two fixed signs. Very dynamic personal signs that are in a square. So that can be friction, which can be chemistry between, especially if you're a Taurus, it's like if you find somebody that's, a Leo right now, there's like a lot of kind of funky chemistry, but it's also like, it can also be a bit combative. It's not as combative as if there's like an opposition, but it's definitely a feeling of like, a little bit kind of aggressive. But because they're both, in those kind of regal signs, they're going to be more classy about it. So if there is chemistry, it's going to be kind of like a proper courtship kind of thing. But if it's just like a bit of like, it's almost like a debate, like a strong debate against what they may be like, it's like they agree to disagree, but they're going to really talk about it, and they're going to say why, and they all have valid reasons, and they all believe what they believe. The moon is at 17 degrees of Capricorn, which is also, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, so Saturn is very much like, hey, this is the way that it kind of is. So there's like this subconscious thing going, and there's a lot of people that, even if I did not look at any news media at all, and I was just looking at this, I'd be like, okay, people are having like some serious ideological kind of crises over what they believe should be happening, what they feel is right, like the rules with Saturn, and all these different, especially with all this, these conjunctions with Pisces, and then the 0 degrees of Aries, with Neptune, that visionary thing. Visionaries are like seeing far into the future. They're seeing the big picture, It's just like David Bowie and Prince telling us what was going to happen with social media and the internet, like 20 years before all the things that we have now even were like fully in existence. Like they knew, it's that psychic kind of, what and like there's this deep sense, this deep intuition. So it's like, what's right, what and the thing is like, also with Jupiter at 19 degrees of Gemini still, that's really expanding discussions. But Gemini can be, Gemini rules the hands and talking with your hands, and it's a very visceral kind of communication. It's cerebral, but it's also like, like getting very, sometimes it can be a little bit, like that's the kind of, I'm going to slap you kind of energy too. So there's kind of that, and then you've got Mars, trine Neptune. So you've got those energies around, like, and then it's like conjunct Saturn. So like there's this energy of like, we really do want to see what we believe to be right, and we want to see that with the rules. We want to see that with structure. We want our structure to reflect what we believe to be right, and what we believe to be right about not just now, but years from now. So we're not thinking about just ourselves. This is like thinking, and this is for, the country, and this is like the vast, like, collective unconscious, like as Jung would say. So it's about the whole area. So it's like, this is about like what we believe to be right, and wanting to see that. And Pluto is in Aquarius opposing Mars. So, and then we've got a T-square, with Mars squaring the sun and squaring Pluto. And when you have like those things, it's like these, it's like bumping heads against what, because Pluto can be the courts, it can be the police, it can be cops, like local authorities, it could be I don't want to say so much, but it could be the military too. It's just like a whole, it's kind of like that authority thing, but it's also, Pluto also rules money, and it rules banking, and it rules like regulations for businesses and how people, it's like the whole, it's like these structural things, these big structural planets that are like, kind of having a lot of friction against, like, and it's also the bigger, because being in opposition to Mars means that like the bigger picture government is opposing like the local, like that's in opposition to like the local authorities, the local, the people that are kind of like making the laws. So like the municipalities are in opposition a lot of times to the bigger picture. So and that is gathered. So it's expanding like the whole, it just looks like a lot of, there's a lot of discourse going on, but there's not enough kind of like decisive action that is making any kind of like bigger shifts. So it's like there's still a lot of debate, and our president is a Gemini, so with Jupiter kind of expanding his like, it can expand that kind of energy of like, self-righteousness sometimes, but it's also expanding a lot of talk, a lot of just like, and I mean Jupiter it has to do with education. Jupiter is like education, and it's philosophy. It rules Sagittarius, so it's like world, it has to do with a lot of like bigger picture. It's foreign languages. It's like, it's got a lot to do with other countries and the way that other people, like the perceptions of, like expanding your perceptions, expanding your mind, and universities definitely expand our minds and help people to grow. So there's that going on. There's like, this has to do with like sort of that kind of energy. And then also with Saturn in Pisces, that's a lot of, Pisces is such an interesting sign because it's this dichotomy. It's two fish going the opposite way, but it's like Pisces are very deep, and they won't often let you know. And they're smart business people. I've known some Pisces that are damn smart when it comes to business, and they seem to be kind of lucky. And it's the 12th sign, so it's a sign right before they, I don't know, maybe they don't need to have to come back and be humans again or something, but it's like, it's a very evolved sign. And so the consciousness level, even though they can appear on the surface kind of wishy-washy, they definitely know how they feel about whatever it is. They definitely know. You just have to get underneath all the surface, flirtation, and because it is also, ruled by Neptune. So there's kind of like just this like, we have people that are very idealistic and they're having a crisis, and the people that are, and we know that anyway. The other thing that's really interesting is that we've got the moon trine Uranus. So, and Uranus is still in Taurus. So it's moving toward Gemini. It's a little bit slowed down because it's in Taurus. So even though there is a lot of energy and a lot of movement, it still hasn't reached the point where it's actually like sort of a boiling point, but it's simmering. Basically, just think of it as like there's like a lot of stuff simmering because there's a lot of people that are not being heard. There are people who are, it's an intense energy. So